occasion before us today. We're going to be baptized in Nicholas. Just wanted to give you all a little bit of instruction about why we do baptism here and what's involved with that, with little ones. We, in our faith, we are known as Reformed Christians, meaning that we believe in the teachings out of the Reformation period in the 1500s and the 1600s. It's expressed particularly in the Westminster Confession of Faith, one of our doctrinal standards. And one of the things that we believe is that the Old Testament and the New Testament complement one another. We believe that the Bible progresses and it's unified and it kind of expands as we get into the New Testament. We don't see the Bible as being disconnected, like the Old Testament separate from the New Testament. And we call that covenant theology. The reason we call it that is because if you look in the Bible, over 200 times the word covenant is mentioned. And covenant is a relationship contract between us and God. And in the Old Testament, one of the things that God did to bring the Israelites into a relationship with him, he entered into a covenant with them, and particularly with Abraham. And he told Abraham, he says, I'm going to give you a mark of my covenant, my relationship with you, and that is going to be circumcision. He told Abraham to circumcise every child in his family, every boy, male child, at 8 days old. And he said, that will mark that child out unto me to be part of your covenant family, my covenant family. Now, that didn't mean that he believed that Abraham was, and that God was saying that every child that's circumcised is saved by that mark of covenant, but that he was set apart, and his parents would raise that child in the Lord. Well, let's fast forward to the New Testament. When we get to the New Testament, we get to the book of Colossians, chapter 2, verse 11. And in that book, it tells us that baptism has taken over the sign of circumcision in the Old Testament. And that's a beautiful thing. That picture of a relationship and circumcision in the Old Testament is fulfilled in the sign of baptism in the New Testament. And we as covenant Christians, Reformed Christians, we believe just as the children were included in the Old Testament in the covenant community and were to bear that mark of the covenant, we believe that they are likewise to bear that mark of the covenant in the New Testament. The reason we believe this, we believe we include children, is because in the New Testament there's no clear indication that we are to separate or keep children from participating in the New Testament covenant. One thing I want to reiterate to you all is that baptism of a little one doesn't mean that we believe that child is saved by baptism, but that we look forward to the promises of God that he would grant hopefully and with great hope in our hearts as parents and leaders of the church and members of the church. We hope that they will one day experience the salvation that this baptism represents. And it also obligates the parents to raise their child in the Lord, just like in the Old Testament. We also believe that as he is baptized today, that he will be before us, the congregation of people that profess faith in Christ. We are to help them raise him in the Lord. We to pray for him, to pray for them, and support them. And that's where my heart is. I want to support you guys, and I believe the church here desires to do that as well. I'm going to give you guys some membership questions, and then I'm going to also pose the congregation membership questions. And I really want you guys, all of you all, to take very seriously these vows. Parents who have baptized your children already in this church, I want you to rethink and reconfirm your commitment to your children and to the children of this church as you see this baptism and participate in this today. And ask God by his grace to help you to keep your covenantal vows. As with every promise we make before God in the Bible, the Lord is our witness, and the people are witnesses. But in our hearts, we're making a commitment, a second one is this. Do you claim God's covenant promises in his behalf? And do you look forward in faith to the Lord Jesus for his salvation as you do for your own? Wonderful. And the third one is this. Do you now unreservedly dedicate him to God? And do you promise in humble reliance upon divine grace that you will endeavor to set before him a godly example, that you will pray with and for him, that you will teach him the doctrines of our holy religion, and that you will strive by all the means of God's appointment to bring him up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord? Praise the Lord. I'd like to ask the congregation here, members in good standing, Faith Community Church, this question, and if you agree with it, I'd like to ask you to stand upon hearing it. The question is this: do you, as a congregation, undertake the responsibility of assisting the parents, these parents before us, in the Christian nurture of Nicholas? If so, would you please stand before the Lord? Praise God. Praise God. Please be seated. Y'all need to pray for me. Doing good. I baptize you, Nicholas, in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we pray for Nicholas. We love him. We care about him. We praise you, God, for him. We pray that you will bless him and encourage him. We pray that his baptism today will signify that you would do a great work in his heart. We pray for your Holy Spirit to draw him to you. We pray that there would never be a day in which he would not know the Lord Jesus as his Savior. And we pray, Father, that you would protect his life. Give as he cries, Lord, help him to use his life to proclaim the Lord Jesus, to cry out the name of Christ. We pray for your blessings upon him and his parents. And we thank you that we have been given the gift of baptism to set him aside. We love him and we pray for him. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Yes, yes, yes.
So Nicholas, watching, you may be preaching the gospel.
Be all right.
I want to give you guys a certificate to cherish, to think about. This is, you have a birth certificate for him. This is a great certificate to remind you of the day he got baptized, and to encourage you to pray for him, and to remind him of the meaning of his baptism. And a lot of times we forget about it. Not to allow it to be a tradition, or just some kind of cursory thing to go through, but a serious thing to encourage you to believe in Jesus, the Lord Jesus, in whom you've been baptized today, and to spread the gospel, share the gospel with him. Allow this baptism certificate to remind you, a tangible reminder to do that. And bless you.